You found the listing. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a pool in the backyard, and a price tag that made you do a double take. $290,000 in Florida. No state income tax. Year-round sun. It looks like the deal of a lifetime. Then the insurance quote arrives. Then the CDD fee shows up buried in the property tax bill. Then your neighbor mentions the septic system, or the sinkhole map, or the fact that the low HOA doesn't cover the special assessment coming next spring. Florida homeowners insurance now averages over $7,000 a year statewide, the highest of any state in the country. That number alone rewrites the math on every affordable listing in the state. Some cities hide it well, some don't hide it at all once you start digging. Today we're counting down 10 Florida cities where the sticker price is the bait and the real monthly cost is the switch. We're going from number 10 to number 1, building toward the city where the gap between looks cheap and actually is the widest in the entire state. Numbers, sources, no fluff. Let's start the countdown. Before we get into number 10, if you're new here, this channel breaks down the real numbers behind Florida's housing market, which cities are crashing, which ones are quietly becoming unaffordable, and which deals online are hiding a much bigger bill underneath. If that's useful to you, hit subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. It takes 2 seconds and it's free. Now, let's get into it. Number 10, Ocala. Ocala has spent years marketing itself fairly as one of the last truly affordable corners of Florida. Horse country, inland, no beach. And on paper, the numbers back that up. Ocala and the surrounding north central counties post some of the lowest home insurance premiums in the entire state. Inland markets like Ocala and Lakeland can see homeowners insurance under $2,500 a year on a $300,000 home, while a comparable coastal property runs $5,000 to $7,000. That's a real, legitimate advantage, and it's the reason Ocala keeps showing up on relocation lists. But here's the catch that doesn't make the brochure. Ocala sits in the heart of what insurers quietly call sinkhole country. Marion County is named specifically as one of the higher sinkhole activity counties in the state, sitting on the same porous limestone corridor that runs from Tampa up through central Florida. Standard Florida policies only cover catastrophic ground collapse, meaning the kind of total failure where a structure is condemned. Anything short of that, the slow cracking, the settling foundation, the sinking slab, requires an optional sinkhole endorsement that isn't automatically included and isn't automatically cheap once a county has claims history. So the trap in Ocala isn't the base premium. It's the assumption that low base premium means low total risk. A buyer who skips the sinkhole rider to save a few $100s a year is the same buyer who could be looking at a 5-figure foundation repair with zero coverage behind it. Ocala is genuinely one of the more affordable cities in Florida. It just isn't affordable for the reason most people think. Number 9, Lehigh Acres. This one's a Southwest Florida classic. Lehigh Acres built its entire reputation on one number, a home value around $308,000, which is genuinely below the Florida statewide median of roughly $417,000 to $420,000. Housing costs here run about 30% below the national average. That's not marketing spin. That's the real, measurable gap that's pulled tens of thousands of buyers into this stretch of Lee County over the past 2 decades. Here's where it gets complicated. Lehigh Acres was platted in the 1950s as one massive grid of lots, long before modern infrastructure caught up to it. The result even now is that plenty of homes in Lehigh Acres still run on well water and septic systems instead of municipal utilities. That's not inherently a deal breaker, but it's a cost most buyers coming from cities with public water and sewer have never had to budget for. Septic inspections, well pump replacements, water testing, none of which show up on a standard listing sheet. Then there's insurance. Lehigh Acres sits in Lee County, which absorbed some of the worst direct damage from Hurricane Ian back in 2022, and that history hasn't fully left the underwriting models. Homeowners insurance here typically runs somewhere between $1,800 and $3,500 a year depending on roof age and wind mitigation. And that's before flood coverage, which matters a lot here because flood zone status varies wildly street to street, even within the same zip code. The headline math says Lehigh Acres is one of the cheapest places to own a home in Southwest Florida. The fine print says, verify the utilities, verify the flood zone, and don't assume the house next door has the same setup as the one you're buying. Number 8, Spring Hill in Hernando County. Spring Hill is the Gulf Coast's answer to what if you could live near Tampa without paying Tampa prices. Median home values sit around $322,000, comfortably under the state median, with close to 80% owner occupancy, a sign of a stable, established community rather than a flipped and rented investment zone. The insurance numbers, at first glance, look almost reasonable for Florida. Average homeowners insurance in Spring Hill runs around $2,800 to $2,900 a year, close to the statewide average, not some coastal nightmare figure. Except Hernando County sits inside what the insurance industry has nicknamed Sinkhole Alley, the Tampa Bay corridor running through Pasco, Hernando, and Hillsborough counties, where thin soil sits directly over dissolving limestone. And industry data is blunt about what that means for Spring Hill specifically. In parts of the city, the optional sinkhole loss coverage endorsement can cost more than the base homeowner's policy itself. Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, is often the only carrier even willing to write that sinkhole endorsement here. Stack that on top of standard wind and hurricane coverage, plus flood insurance if the lot sits in a flood-prone drainage area, and a homeowner who budgeted using the average $2,800 figure can find their actual all-in insurance bill running thousands more once every necessary rider is added. Spring Hill isn't lying about its affordability. It's just only telling you about the storms that come from the sky, not the ones happening underground. Number 7, Kissimmee. Kissimmee's pitch is obvious. Minutes from Disney, tourism-driven rental income potential, and home prices that look downright reasonable next to Orlando proper. But Kissimmee runs on a fee structure that catches almost every out-of-state buyer off guard. The double dip of HOA and CDD. Average HOA fees in Kissimmee run somewhere between $150 and $300 a month. Separately, not instead of, in addition to, Community Development District fees, the assessments that fund roads, sewers, and amenities in master plan communities, typically at another $1,200 to $2,800 per year, billed through the property tax bill. Run that math, and a buyer's escrow payment can jump by an extra $100 to $230 every single month. And in popular resort-style communities like Tapestry, residents pay both layers simultaneously. A roughly $128 monthly HOA fee stacked directly on top of a separate CDD assessment on the tax bill. Two completely different bills, two completely different governing structures, one homeowner writing both checks. The kicker: many buyers don't discover the CDD fee until they're already reviewing closing documents because it doesn't always show up clearly in the initial listing price the way a monthly HOA fee does. It's baked into the tax bill quietly every single year for as long as that district's infrastructure bonds remain outstanding, sometimes decades. Kissimmee homes can look like a steal next to the parks they're 15 minutes from. The fee structure is the reason that feeling doesn't survive the first full year of ownership. Number 6, Palm Coast. Palm Coast built an entire identity around being the quiet, affordable alternative to St. Augustine and the rest of Northeast Florida's coastline, and the comparative numbers genuinely support that. Northeast Florida as a region posts some of the more moderate insurance averages in the state, generally landing in the $2,200 to $4,000 range, well below the South Florida or Southwest Florida coastal corridors. But Palm Coast has a built-in feature that complicates that comparison: canals. The city was developed around an extensive network of man-made waterways, and homes on or near those canals carry a meaningfully different cost structure than the inland numbers suggest. Canal front and waterfront properties in Palm Coast routinely see total insurance costs land between $3,500 and $6,000 a year once flood coverage is factored in. because standard homeowners policies explicitly exclude water damage from rising water, storm surge, or canal overflow. That protection has to be purchased separately every year for as long as you own the home. The disconnect is location-specific in a way that trips up buyers using citywide averages. 2 homes in Palm Coast, 10 minutes apart, can carry insurance bills that differ by $2,000 to $3,000 a year, purely based on canal proximity and flood zone designation. Information that's easy to miss when you're comparing listing prices on a map instead of standing on the actual lot. Palm Coast really is more affordable than its neighbors up the coast. Just make sure you know whether your specific address is the affordable part or the canal part. Number 5, Davenport. Davenport, just southwest of Disney in Polk County, has become ground zero for a fee structure local agents have started calling, half-jokingly, the triple fee. And once you see how it works, the joke stops being funny. In Davenport's resort-style short-term rental communities, names like Champions Gate and Solterra, buyers stack 3 separate mandatory charges. First, an HOA fee, typically around $200 a month, covering internet and lawn maintenance. Second, a CDD fee, the infrastructure assessment, which in these resort communities runs between $2,500 and $4,000 annually depending on lot size. And third, the one almost nobody budgets for, a separate mandatory club fee, commonly around $100 a month, required specifically to maintain access to the water parks, lazy rivers, and clubhouse amenities that make these communities marketable as vacation rentals in the first place. That club fee isn't optional, and it isn't a gym membership you can skip. Industry guides are explicit that it's frequently structured as an enforceable lien, and newer monitoring systems can instantly block a guest's access to the property's amenities if the owner's account falls delinquent, which, for an investment property relying on short-term rental income, can mean canceled bookings and refund demands with almost no warning. There's one more wrinkle. Many of these communities are still in active development, and builders frequently subsidize fees early on to keep listing prices competitive. Once the developer exits and hands control to the homeowners themselves, local guides report fee increases in the range of 30 to 40% are common. Davenport sells the dream of owning a slice of a Disney-adjacent resort. The triple fee structure is the reason that Dream's true monthly cost rarely resembles the number in the original listing. Number 4, Northport. Northport has spent the last several years as one of the fastest growing cities in the entire state, ranking 19th statewide for population growth with a 2026 projected population north of 100,000 people. The pitch is simple, real Gulf Coast access without Sarasota or Lakewood Ranch pricing. Median home prices currently sit around $350,000, and after a correction from the 2022 peak, inventory has surged more than 60%, giving buyers real negotiating leverage for the first time in years. That's the appealing half of the story. Here's the half that surprises people after closing: insurance. Local market analysis is direct about this. Northport's home prices are low relative to the rest of the Gulf Coast, but homeowners' flood and wind insurance premiums can be high enough to erase a meaningful chunk of that price advantage. Some Northport residents report their annual insurance costs doubling, even tripling, over just a few renewal cycles. A $320,000 home carrying a $6,000 annual insurance bill is not a hypothetical here. It's a documented, reported reality for a growing number of owners. The math that gets missed, buyers comparing Northport to Sarasota look only at the purchase price gap and assume the savings carry straight through to the monthly payment. They don't. Once insurance, wind mitigation requirements, and flood zone status enter the equation, that gap narrows fast, sometimes by hundreds of dollars a month, on a house that was supposed to be the affordable option. Northport is still cheaper than its Gulf Coast neighbors. The independent advice circulating locally now is blunt. Get your insurance quote before you make an offer, not after. Number 3, Port St. Lucie. For over a decade, Port St. Lucie was the answer to where can I afford a house in Florida without moving 3 hours inland. That reputation is now badly out of date, and the gap between reputation and reality here is sharper than almost anywhere else on this list. The median home price in Port St. Lucie has climbed past $390,000, with some 2026 projections placing it above $420,000. Compare that to the area's median household income of roughly $79,000, and standard affordability guidelines suggest a comfortable purchase price closer to $260,000. The math doesn't work without either dual incomes, a much larger down payment, or both. Then there's property tax, and this is where Port St. Lucie genuinely punishes buyers who assumed Florida has no income tax meant Florida is a low-tax state across the board. St. Lucie County's median effective property tax rate runs around 1.31%. Well, above both the national median of roughly 1% and Florida's own statewide median of about 1.1%. On the city's current median home value, that translates to a median annual tax bill of approximately $4,369, nearly $2,000 higher than the national median tax bill. And the spread within the city is enormous. Properties in the lower tax brackets pay around $2,500 a year, while properties at the higher end pay well over $6,500, depending entirely on which zip code and which special assessment district the parcel falls into. Local 2026 reporting has started calling this out directly, stating plainly that Port St. Lucie is no longer the budget-friendly secret it once was, now that median prices have crossed the $420,000 line and property taxes have become a major line item, rather than an afterthought. The name still carries the reputation of the 2010s. The numbers belong to a completely different decade. Number 2, Cape Coral. Cape Coral is the single most searched, affordable Florida waterfront city in the state. And there's a reason it has more canal front lots than almost anywhere else in the country, letting buyers chase the boat and water lifestyle at a price point Naples and Miami simply can't touch. But Cape Coral runs on two cost mechanisms most buyers from outside Florida have never encountered. First, property taxes vary so dramatically within Cape Coral itself that the city is practically two different markets wearing one name. Depending on the specific zip code, effective property tax rates swing from around 0.93% at the low end, up to 1.67% at the high end. And the median annual property tax bill across the city runs about $4,138, which is well above the national median of $2,400. Two buyers, two nearly identical homes, two different zip codes, and a tax bill that can differ by well over $1,000 a year for no reason visible on the listing photos. Second, and this is the one that genuinely catches people off guard, Lee County, where Cape Coral sits, took some of the most severe direct damage in the state from Hurricane Ian back in 2022. The insurance market here still reflects that. Southwest Florida, Lee Collier, and Charlotte counties specifically now averages somewhere between $4,000 and $6,200 a year for standard homeowners coverage, among the highest regional averages in Florida. And that's before flood insurance, which matters enormously here given the sheer number of canal-adjacent and Gulf access lots that define the city's appeal in the first place. Put those two pieces together, a property tax rate that can nearly double depending on which side of a street you're on, and an insurance market still pricing in a major hurricane's aftermath. And a household earning under $85,000 a year, the income local guides cite as the realistic threshold to comfortably afford the median Cape Coral home, can find the true monthly carrying cost running well past $2,800 on what looked, at first glance, like a basic inland purchase. Cape Coral sells the water. The tax map and the insurance market are the parts that don't make it into the brochure. Number 1, Jacksonville. Every realtor in Florida will tell you the same thing about Jacksonville. It's the deal. The state's most populous city and still one of its most affordable. While Miami's median home price sits north of $575,000, Jacksonville has spent years marketing itself as the no state income tax big city alternative, where a family can actually afford a yard. As recently as 2020, the median home here was around $160,000. Today, depending on the source, it's somewhere between $300,000 and $370,000. Buyers coming from a typical price point 5 years ago have likely watched their property's value climb more than 50% in that window alone. That growth is the whole pitch. It's also exactly what sets the trap. Here's the mechanism, and it has nothing to do with hurricanes, sinkholes, or CDD fees. It's how Florida calculates property taxes, and it specifically punishes the thing that makes Jacksonville attractive in the first place: rapid appreciation. Florida's Save Our Homes amendment caps how much a homesteaded property's assessed value can rise each year, 3% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. A homeowner who bought in Jacksonville a decade ago and stayed put has had their assessed value crawl upward by 3% a year, even while the home's actual market value climbed 50, 60, even 100% over that same stretch. That gap is real money, and it belongs entirely to the person who's been living there. The moment that home sells, the gap disappears. Florida law resets the assessed value to the new purchase price the very next tax year. No cap, no protection, no inheritance of the seller's decade of savings. Local Jacksonville area real estate data lays out exactly what that looks like in practice. A buyer sees the seller's tax bill, say $2,800 a year, and budgets accordingly. Then the actual bill arrives at $5,200, nearly double, because the Save Our Homes cap reset to current market value the moment the deed changed hands. And it doesn't hit at closing. It hits in year 2, after the moving truck is gone, when the new tax bill lands in the mailbox and the monthly escrow payment jumps by hundreds of dollars overnight. This isn't a Jacksonville-specific loophole. It's true everywhere in Florida. But it bites hardest, precisely in fast-growing, still affordable-looking markets like this one, for a simple reason. The faster a city appreciates, the bigger the canyon between what a long-time owner's capped assessment says and what a brand new buyer's reset assessment will say. Jacksonville, growing as fast as almost anywhere in the state while still wearing the affordable label, sits right at the center of that canyon. Duval County's effective property tax rates already run higher than the national median, typically in the 1.1 to 1.4% range depending on the neighborhood. And that's before the reset even happens. There's a real current news story behind this exact pattern. As of mid-2026, Florida homebuyers across the state have been reporting genuine sticker shock when their first post-purchase tax bill arrives, thousands of dollars higher than what they budgeted from the listing. The advice from county property appraisers is consistent and worth repeating here. Never budget using the seller's current tax bill. Pull up your specific county's tax estimator, enter the price you're actually paying, and budget for what the assessed value will become the moment you're the owner, not what it's been for the person selling to you. That's why Jacksonville earns the top spot on this list. Every other city here hit its real cost in a fee, a flood zone, or an insurance renewal. Jacksonville hides it in the very thing that makes it look like Florida's best deal. And the bill doesn't even introduce itself until you've already moved in. 10 cities. 10 different reasons the sticker price and the real price stopped matching. Sinkholes in the center of the state, canals on the coast, triple stacked fees outside Orlando, a hurricane that's still showing up on insurance renewals 4 years later. If you're weighing a move to any city on this list, the takeaway isn't don't go. It's get every number before you sign anything. The insurance quote, the flood zone designation, the CDD disclosure, the actual property tax bill for that specific parcel, not the county average. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. That actually means a lot, and it's the only reason this channel keeps growing. If this saved you from getting blindsided by a listing that looked cheaper than it really was, do one thing before you go. Hit subscribe so the next breakdown lands in your feed automatically. That's it for this one. Stay sharp out there, run the real numbers before you sign anything, and we'll see you in the next video.